Hey there, it's Mr. Gallagher again. We're here to talk about steps and the accidentals, okay? So a half step is what's the distance between one key to the next key right next door neighbor. The smallest step away is called a half step, okay? Don't think that a white key to black key is what's a half step. Sometimes it's a white key to white key, as you'll see. Okay, so in this example of E to F, those are two white key names, but they're right next to each other. That's also a half step. We can also have something called a whole step. Whole step is when we now have two half steps together. So if we look at this example, steps 1 to 2, that's C to C sharp or D flat, that's a half step. 1 to 3 is C to D, that's a whole step. So a whole step is two half steps. Does that make sense? Good. Okay, so an accidental is going to tell us when we either raise or lower a note. Okay, and this case is going to be by a half step. So the first accidental we're going to talk about is a flat. The second one we're going to talk about here is a sharp. Okay, so the flat is going to lower a note by a half step. So we're going to lower by a half step. Okay, a sharp is going to be when we raise a note by a half step. Okay, so when we raise, that's a sharp. Okay, when we lower, that's a flat. The flat looks like a lowercase b. The sharp looks like a hashtag, but it's a sharp sign. Okay, so let's check this out. So that note between C and D, we could call that two things. If we were in the key of C and we see it raised, that's a C sharp. If we're played from a D and we go down, D flat. So if we lower it, D flat. But it's the same note. Okay. We also have this idea when we go to concert E and F. So if we just play that key, we think it's an E, but we could call it an F flat because it's one half step lower than the F. Likewise, that F could be called an E sharp because it's one half step higher than that E. Okay. All these notes have two different names, and that's called inharmonic spelling. Okay, so a note called two different things is inharmonic spelling. Okay, and if you want to get confused even more, let's talk about double flats and double sharps, why don't we? So, while that flat and that sharp sign lower or raise a note by half a step, that double flat and that double sharp sign will raise it by two half steps or a whole step. Okay, and the double flat looks like two lowercase b's, the double sharp looks like an X. Okay, so for example, that D, okay, you could think of that as an E double flat because you went two half steps down from that E. Okay, you could also think of it as a C double sharp because you went two half steps up from that C. Okay, and a lot of the music we see does not even use these double sharps and double flats. It's just a point of reference for us to know. So flat and sharp, raised by one or lower by one half step. Double sharp, double flat, lower or raise a note by two half steps or a whole step. Okay, just remember that. The natural sign, that cancels everything out. We just want to be natural. We cancel it all out and it gives it back to its original name. So say you have a B flat and now you have a natural sign, it's now a B natural. Okay, and we'll look about naturals in a later time. But just remember, flat lowers by a half step, sharp raises by a half step. Double flat lowers by a whole step, double sharp raises by a whole step. Notes with two names are called inharmonics, okay, and a natural can cancel all that out. Thanks for being here. We'll see you soon.